In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to add in-app purchases to React Native for iOS. I have experimented with several third-party libraries, so in this tutorial, I'm going to be using react-native-iap. I actually use it for my app in the App Store. It's a live app. It works perfectly, and I use it for monthly and yearly subscriptions. So I thought I would share with you guys how to do that. I hope you guys like this. If you do, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the like button. Okay, so let's get started. So before you get started, you will need an Apple developer account. It costs about $100 a year, I think. The last time I remember, the price may have gone up slightly. You'll need a MacBook with Xcode, and you'll need an iPhone or iPad to test in-app purchases. As of this recording, you cannot test those on a simulator. So just to start off, I'm going to show you guys a demo of the finished app. This is a screen recording from my device. So I've got a subscription. I subscribe. I should get this Sandbox notification that it's a test. And it should let me go ahead and sign in if everything is set up correctly. And there we have it. I should get a message that I'm subscribed, and it'll take me to whatever screen I've set up after a user has subscribed to my app. So as always, the first thing we need to do is create and initialize a new project in React Native. So to do that, I'm going to open my terminal into a directory where I want to create this project, and I'm going to run the command npx react native init and then whatever the project name is. All right, we're going to let that run. Once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and cd into the directory of that project. And then I'm going to go ahead and run npm I to install all the default dependencies for React Native. And then I'm going to run npm I react native iap to install the in-app purchase dependency. And I'm going to pass -- save so it can save it to my packages.json. Then I'm going to cd into iOS and run pod install. You can also run npx pod install as well, but this is just another way to do it. Now I'm going to go ahead and go back to the project directory, and in here I'm going to run npx react native, run iOS, and bring up the app and make sure everything is running as expected. Okay, now we can see our app is running, everything is set up. And now the next step, we're going to open our project in Xcode. And to do that, I am going to go into my file explorer, into that directory, and then in the iOS, you should have a file with the extension XC workspace. I open that in Xcode. Then you go to your project, signing and capabilities. And we're going to click on the capabilities and look for in-app purchase. We're going to add the in-app purchase. Also make sure you change your bundle identifier and you select your team for your Apple developer account. Next, I'm going to log in to my Apple developer account. And then once I'm logged in, I'm going to go to the identifiers here in the second column, and I'm just going to make sure that whatever I chose for my identifier in Xcode shows up here as well. Mine looks fine. I've been testing this a lot. So let's go ahead and go to apps. And as you can see, I already have an app here. This is the one I'm actually using, in-app purchases. But I'm going to create a new app by clicking on that plus icon. And here I'm just adding a name. You can add whatever you want to call yours. Choose that bundle ID. If you don't see it, you should have a link to go in and add it manually in your developer account. But I see mine, so I go ahead and select it. Then you'll add a SKU here. I'm going to say full access. I'm selecting iOS for the platform. And then I'm just going to go ahead and create that. All right, so I have an error here that the SKU's already been used because I've been testing this a lot. So I'm just going to change the SKU because this does have to be unique among all your apps. All right, so I went ahead and created my app. Now we're going to go through our settings here in Apple Developer, and we're going to go ahead and let's go to the subscriptions under the features on the left-hand menu. We're going to create a subscription group, and you can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it CWG subscription group for this demo. Then it'll take us to the screen to add a subscription. So here, if you just look at the help menu, this subscription name, reference name is for you, the user, or they don't see it in the App Store. This is just the identifier for you for analytics, etc. And same with the product ID. So you can choose anything you want, but note that product IDs have to be unique. So if you did delete this, see, I'm getting an error here. Actually, I shouldn't use a hyphen. They do have to be unique. So if you've used it before, you won't be able to use it again. Even if you delete it, it won't let you reuse a deleted product ID. So just keep that in mind. Now that we've got the group and the subscription set up, it'll take me to this screen here where I'm going to select the duration. I'm going to select a localization price, and I'm going to select $2.99. And for the countries and localities, I'm just going to set this to the default. But you guys can go through and do your calculation for a real app to make sure these prices are set correctly for your requirements. And then we also need to add App Store localization. And I'm going to go ahead and now this name is displayed in the App Store. So make sure the display name and the description here are what you want the user to see. So I'm just going to put some test stuff in here. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Of course, for your requirements, make sure you put some good descriptions and a meaningful display name. All right, now that we have all of that set up, the next thing we need to do, if I scroll here, let's go. Actually, here's a warning here that I need to add localization also in my app. So if I go back to the group, here's App Store localization. This is different. So go ahead and make sure you add this as well. Same thing. I'm going to add a subscription group display name, same. This does get displayed. Make sure you look at this help text before you fill these things out. I'm going to leave my app name display to whatever my app is. All right, so now that we've got the App Store localization and the pricing localization all set up, there's one more thing we need to do to get this ready for us to be able to use. There's still some missing metadata here. So let's see what we need to do. let's actually add an introductory price here. I'm going to go and just so you guys can see how to do that, I'm just selecting some free for 1 week, and I'm going to add it for all countries. It's fine, just so you guys can see how we can add an introductory price. You can even add offer codes, promotions. There's some cool flexibility you can do with these subscriptions. All right, so we've got that. There's still a few things here. Let's look at this review information here. We do need to add some type of image. This is for review only. It isn't displayed in the App Store at all. But you will need, this is required for your subscription to be approved by the App Store. So make sure you upload a image and you can put some review notes so that the person reviewing it can understand what your subscription is. So for me, I would probably just kind of describe what that subscription is for. And then I'm going to go ahead and save this. And all right, so now we have our app says it's ready to submit. So great. Now that our subscription is ready, we will be able to use this subscription. The first time we submit our app to the App Store, we'll be able to select this subscription for our app. So make sure it says ready for submit. All right, so let's go look at this app information here. If you scroll down, just make sure you've set everything up. I'm just double checking. Now, one thing I'm going to add is a app-specific shared secret. We do need this to test our app in our device. So I'm going to copy the shared secret and save it. All right, now I'm going to open my project in VS Code, and I'm going to create a .env file and copy that shared secret or add it to my environment variables. So I'm just going to right click, new file, and it's .env. Okay, looks like I already have one here. So I'm just going to go ahead and add my before I do that, I'm going to go to this .gitignore, and for my code is in GitHub. So if you do have that, make sure you add your .env so that you don't accidentally check that into GitHub, because you don't want to share this secret key with anybody. So I'm going to call my environment variable app. All right, so now that we have that, I'm going to go back and copy that because I somehow didn't have it. So go ahead and paste that into my app secret environment variable. All right, so now I'm going to open a terminal in VS Code because I do need to install react-native-iap so that I can use this environment variable in my code. So I'm just going to run npm install react-native Actually, I'm going to do npm install uppercase D so that this is only installed for development environment. I don't need it in production. So then it's npm install and then react-native-iap and go ahead and return. All right, so now that that's saved, let's go to codewithgg.com, and I have a full article of every instruction that I'm going through in this video, and you can follow along with me, but if you pull it up, I have all the code, everything you need to get this thing working. So now this is to add all the dependencies, so we need a few more things. We need React navigation, and we also need the gesture handler. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy paste these lines of code to install a few more things. So the next thing I need is the screens. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy these really quick. And if you guys want to follow along, just go ahead and open codewithgg.com, and you'll see the first article is instructions for adding in-app purchases to React Native. All right, and let's go ahead. Last thing, we need to run the pod install. So I'm just copying and pasting these commands into my terminal from my article. So let's go ahead and run pod install, which is npx pod install iOS. All right, so the next thing we need is a new file called subscriptions, and I have the code for you on this link, and I'll leave that link in the description of this video as well. I've got all the code, all the files you'll need. So I'm just going to go through and copy all this code and create these files step by step so you guys can see. So let's grab the subscriptions.js code, go back to your VS Code, create a new file, and this is going to be, actually I'm going to create a directory called source. Inside source, I'm going to create another directory called screens, and then inside the screens directory I'm going to create a new file called subscriptions.js, and I'm just going to go ahead and paste that code into this. All right, the next thing I'm going to grab is the home.js code. So I'm copying that. Go back to your screens directory in VS Code, create a new file called home.js, and I'm going to paste that code in here. And then I'm going to go and grab app.tsx and go ahead and copy that and go back to our code app.tsx, and I'm going to paste that in and save that. Let's see, we've got a syntax error here. All right, so looks like something's wrong with my import statement here. This should be an uppercase H. There we go. That looks better. Let's go ahead and save this. It looks like I have another error here with the image. Let's go ahead and comment that out because we don't have that image. All right, so that fixes our syntax errors, and now our subscription screen is being displayed, which is exactly what we wanted. There's an error down on the device, but you can ignore that. That's because we can't access some of the subscription data on a simulator. It has to be run on a device. So that's a valid error. You can ignore it. So here's where I'm importing some methods from react-native-iap that we're going to be using in here to get the data we need to display the subscriptions from our Apple developer configuration that we set up earlier. We also need to import the iTunes shared secret from our .env file. Remember when we set that up here, we added iTunes shared secret. So we will need that to access that data in our Apple developer account. And so here I've got a product ID that I need to set to grab whatever data I need to display the subscription in my app. So if you go back to your Apple developer account and look at your subscriptions, the product ID, go ahead and copy that product ID. And I'm going to make sure this is the same and go ahead and paste that in. So we've got our subscription SKUs for iOS. So platform.select is the method we call, and we pass it an object for iOS and Android. As you can see, it's asking me to sign in with my developer account, and it's also displaying the data for that subscription, the CWG $2.99 product ID. So it says you are subscribed to this plan because I've already subscribed to it, or this might be an error. So let's see. Let me remove this condition here. It says if owned, you are subscribed. And I had if not owned. So I obviously don't own this app. I haven't purchased it yet. So I go ahead and fix that code. All right, so now that we have our subscription, here are the methods we're using. I'm using the use IAP hook, which gives me access to all these different methods. I put them in comments so you can see, like subscriptions, return subscriptions for this app, get subscriptions, gets the available subscriptions, current purchase, finish transaction, get purchase history, and we are using most of these or all of these in this app. So the first thing we check is if the user is connected. If they are, or if we're connected to the App Store, if we are, then we go ahead and get the purchase history. Then we check to see if the user is subscribed, and if they are, then we go ahead and navigate them to the home page so they don't have to see the subscription page because they've already subscribed. So it's handling that navigation. And then we've got, of course, the button to handle the purchase if they have not purchased it. So handle buy, we go ahead and purchase the subscription in that method. And then if they have the receipt, you can actually get the receipt data. Of course, for you, you can go ahead and store that receipt or whatever you need to do for your app's requirements. Let's go ahead and test this out. To do that, go back to your Apple developer account. And I'm going to go ahead and select the users and access here. So go into users and access. And you're going to go to Sandbox Testers, and you can see I have several testers here. Just a little trick, if you guys have a Gmail account, if you put your name with a plus and a number, then it'll forward that to your Gmail account. So you can create as many testers as you need to, which is what you might need to do. So create your tester account because you're going to be using this on your actual device. Once you set that up, you'll need to go to your device and sign in with that Sandbox tester. So when you add it here, you'll get an email to verify it and log in. It'll actually create an Apple ID for that tester. So now if I go in here and I've got Xcode here, if I log in, this is on my device, I've got a screen recording and I'm able to test my app. This looks great. Everything looks like it's working perfectly. Here in a minute, it should say, oh, congratulations, or your subscription was successful. So it does take a little while. So you might want to display some kind of loading or whatever. There we go. It says you're all set. And my app will navigate me to the home page once I'm logged in. So if you run into any issues, I did have a couple of small issues myself, so I made notes of it on Code with Gigi. If you guys want to go look in there just to make sure, if you get the same errors, you might be able to go ahead and solve it the same way that I did. But other than that, I think this is pretty complete now on my end. I hope you guys find this useful. I hope it works for you. If not, leave me a comment. I'm sure somebody's going to have some kind of an issue with this because it's tedious. It's not difficult, but it is tedious. There's a lot of things going on here. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.